Everyone, how are we? So, new webinar. Now, I've covered a lot of the kind of informative educational topics. I can't always think of new topics to cover because I've done a lot of them, 35, 40 of them, I believe, on the app. So if you haven't, watched them all, please go back and revisit those. All touching on training, nutrition, recovery, other mindset stuff. But today I thought I would touch on this because it's something that I've made a bit of content about recently, and I'm sure a lot of you have faced at some point, including myself, which is going to be, is this all worth it? How to combat the self-doubt that creeps in on those difficult days, and also dealing with negative surroundings. So but what I mean by that is, like friends, family, co-workers that just don't believe in the vision and, try and take you down a different path, which I will touch on in a minute. So, including myself, I deal with this question. We put so much into this. So you sometimes catch yourself thinking, is this all worth it? This question, it might be asked by someone else, or it might be yourself asking yourself that question. And you may be asking yourself this, or someone asks you when, for example, you say no to a night out. You want to feel good the next day, make progress. You see your friends on Instagram stories, drinking and laughing, etc. But you are seeing the perfectly manufactured 30 seconds of the night out for social media, right? What you don't see is the awful hangover, the queuing all night for drinks, for the club, £100+ coming out of the bank account, feeling low, depressed, deflated on that, hangover, and, days of feeling shit with poor digestion and headaches, right? And they think that you're boring. But what they don't see, so that's what you don't see about their night out. And what they don't see is you waking up fresh as a daisy, feeling positive, focused. They don't know the feeling of fulfillment that we get from your week's worth of, great progress in the gym, and feeling accomplished by achieving goals, ticking things off. And they won't know what it feels like, obviously, to look in the mirror at the end of all the hard work and be proud of what they see, which is, an undefeated feeling, in my opinion. We always think the grass is greener, right? We look at everyone doing this, doing that, and thinking, why should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? Thinking we're missing out, when in reality, it's them who are missing out on the feeling that we get of fulfillment and purpose. So, along the way, you will definitely be met with certain individuals, co-workers, colleagues. I know damn well I have across my life. You may work in an office full of colleagues that literally have no interest in health and fitness. Up until I became a full-time coach, I've had many jobs, done bar work. I worked in a quantity surveyor, as a quantity surveyor. I worked in a bank. Those are the ones that I kind of got the most stick. Essentially, when I'm bringing in Tupperwares of home-cooked chicken and rice every single day, it may raise some questions because not everyone does that, right? Not that it should raise questions, but it may. And I'm sure most of you have put up with some level of pushback, right? For example, how do you eat that every day? Don't you get bored of eating the same thing? Go on, just have one, tempting them with you with this or that. Sometimes this is pure innocence and they are, just genuinely interested in what you're doing and it's kind of alien to them. Some people literally just eat shit all day, every day, and never cook for themselves. So to see someone so disciplined and consistent is quite strange to them, when in reality that should be the norm, but that's for another topic. But sometimes, unfortunately, there is an underlying spiteful tone to it. That phrase of just live a little. Just one won't hurt. Why are you being so boring? Just live a little, right? What we have to remember is, whether they realise it or not, if they're being negative about you wanting to improve your physique, improve your mindset, be consistent, be adherent to the plan, if they're showing, if it's just described what you're doing and they have some jealousy there, and they're negative to it, they're negative towards it, there is some jealousy involved. They have tried and failed to stick to a diet, and seeing you do it makes them feel some type of way, right? They wish that they could do what you're doing, so they want to tempt you with these treats or whatever and make you feel bad so that you don't feel as bad as they do, right? So they don't feel as bad about themselves if they're eating the shit next to you and you're eating your whatever, your meal prep, whatever you're having, and they tempt you with some. Oh, there you go. That she's just like me, right? Or he's just like me. We have to remember that eating home cooked, nutritious food should be the norm. Okay, we are not weird or boring. That is the fucking bare minimum of looking after our bodies, fueling it with nutrition, right? That is not weird or boring. It is literally should be the norm. All right, so just remember that. Yeah, you're not doing anything wrong or different, even if people want to make you feel like you are. All right, so how do we deal with this person? Firstly, it's about communication. So, from day one, explain what you're doing, be open about it, why you're doing it. You can even say you got a coach, how much it means to you. All right, that should be enough. But if not, when they're forcing it in your face, cookies, donuts, that the office had, oh, go on. If you say no and it ends there, that's fine. It's only right that they offer one to you. They're being polite, right? But if you say no and they continue, you got to have a very firm but respectful stance. You can't be like, no, fuck off, because it just burns bridges, and there's no point doing that. It's just, stupid. But any maybe any of that, it is weakness shown, and they will not give up until you say yes. You need to be affirmative. You need to say no straight off the bat. Zero caving. Done. They will learn. All right. I had this at the bank when I used to work at the bank. Literally when I first started working there, it's all like a very young workforce it was, and everyone, literally the whole workforce, every lunch break would go out and get fast food. They'd order in Deliveroos. Not always just pure shit, but it might be burritos or it might be KFC, McDonald's, meal deals, whatever. Absolutely no one brought their own food in other than me. So, I got a little bit of pushback. Not really all that bad, just comments here and there. But after a year or, a decent amount of time of me working there and being consistent, they seen it in front of their very eyes, how very consistent I was. Every single lunch break, I'd have the same meal prep every single day. I never caved into their treats, never caved into their temptations, ever. It went from thinking I was like weird and boring to asking me advice, questions. They would then start bringing in their own meal prep because they would see me progressing. They would see my physique changing. And, they would start signing up to gyms. It was quite cool to see because I'd inspired the whole office, right? And in the end, the managers actually paid me to do a seminar on the benefits of meal prepping for work, for like mental productivity and whatnot, and staying energized throughout the day at work. So the secret is in being consistent. If you are someone who is constantly falling on and off, oh yeah, guys, like on your Instagram story or at work, like, oh, I'm gonna do a diet now, like locking in, back to plan, all this, and then 2 weeks later you're eating shit in front of everyone. Oh, next week, yeah, back on plan. They're gonna they don't respect you. Like, everything that comes out of your mouth, they don't believe, because why should they? You're not only lying to them, you're lying to yourself. Yeah? So they will force food upon you. They will give you comments. They will make you feel shit about your situation because they don't respect you. They don't respect your decisions. Okay? If you say you're going to do something and you stick to it and you are consistent day in, day out at the office, or this doesn't have to be at the office. I'm speaking very generally here. It could be friends, could be family. Same happens with me, right? If you stick to your word and you are consistent with your habits and you're consistent with your behaviors, people will then respect it and they just leave you to it, right? I put this in the chat around Christmas time, right? Back in the day, I used to be a bit of a party animal. I enjoyed going out, right? All my friends back home, they all enjoyed drinks, going out. When I lived back home in Eastbourne, I would get asked all the time to go out. And it was obviously every single time, no. This is when I, first started devoting myself to self-development and bodybuilding, physique development, whatever. Over and over again. Oh, come on, ringing me whilst they're out, midnight, calling me, etc. After a while, after me being stern, saying no, never giving in, right, they stopped asking. Which is, you might think, oh, it's bad they don't ask you out. They would still ask me out to meals, whatever. They stopped asking me to go out for drinks. And if they did ask me, I'd say no. They go, all right, no worries. Because they know I'm consistent and I'm getting the results, and they respect the work that I'm putting in, and they see the results. Okay? I went out at Christmas, just gone. Went out, did not drink. No one asked me to drink. I literally just sat down with everyone, had a great time chatting, whatever. They're all drinking. They did not ask me once. They didn't say, oh, go on. They respected me too much to be doing that. All right? It's the same with food. If you're living at home with family, you're living with a partner, whoever, you first start saying, oh, yeah, I'm doing this diet, whatever. If they see you just eating shit, blah, 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 they're going to not respect you. They're going to keep forcing stuff on you. Oh, come on, let's just do this, let's just do that. Because they've seen you break your promises. They've seen you be weak. All right, so, oh, what's this matter? You know, whatever. If you're being consistent and sticking to your word and being on point, they will respect it and they will leave you to it. Trust me. It just takes undeniable proof of your consistency and getting results. And once the results are shown, people have nothing to say because the respect is there. So, what makes this all worth it? All the work we're putting in. You know, initially, most of you will have come to me because you want to look better, right? You might want to build muscle, lose body fat, whatever. It might just be a simple case of lose 10 kilograms before a holiday, or get leaner, or, you know, get in sick shape for a holiday, or some might be as, you know, advanced as get on stage, right? These are all physical goals, which are obviously great. Like, who doesn't want to look good at the end of the day? People shy away from wanting to admit that. But I am well aware that getting lean, building muscle, and loving the way you look, or at the very least not hating the way you look, is a feeling like no other. And anyone who tells you otherwise is lying to you, or have tried and failed, and they want to spin a story to make themselves feel better. Liking what you see in the mirror is an undefeated feeling. We don't all love the way we look in the mirror all the time, me included, but there will be times when you're on your fitness journey where you're like, fucking hell, I'm actually looking pretty good, you know. It's a good feeling. Now, that aside, the real benefits come from the discipline, all right, and the mindset that you create by achieving the physical goals as a byproduct, right? So along this way, whether you realize it or not, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, you will be building discipline. And this will improve your whole entire life. Because if you are disciplined by building discipline through doing things that you don't necessarily want to do, pushing through hardships, by that I mean, you know, getting up when it's dark and cold and wet and doing your steps or doing your cardio, getting on the Stairmaster when you're fucking knackered, when you're getting offered treats at work, when people are getting takeaways around you and you say no, you stick to your meal plan. Oh, I would love that, I'm hungry, but you say no. In the background, this is building discipline. Building your mind and discipline is like a muscle, and it's being trained like it is in the gym. Every time that you say no to a temptation in the workplace, that's a rep. Every single time that you contemplate leaving the gym without doing the Stairmaster, and you get on the Stairmaster and you complete it, that's a rep. All right, these are the mental reps that we do every single day that you don't even realize is going on. The first few weeks is hard because it's all new to you, but over time, over months, over years, you will become accustomed to this and you will get stronger and stronger mentally. And then when that happens, everything in life becomes easier. You can focus at work better because you have better discipline, because you can look at a computer and work for longer without looking at your phone because you have the discipline not to. Improved control of your finances because you have the discipline to say no to fucking frivolously spending, buying bullshit on TikTok Shop. All right? You have better relationships because you can control your emotions with discipline without jumping down people's throats. You can keep a calm mind because you can keep a calm mind in the gym through your hard reps. All right? When you put yourself through difficult tasks voluntarily and challenge the mind, you'll be able to navigate life a lot easier without so much trouble. You know, if you can be on the Stairmaster for 45 fucking minutes, having a difficult conversation with a customer is nothing, right? So the vast majority of people can barely withstand any mental stress without crumbling. The general population are weak, right? This is because our lives nowadays are so focused on comfort. Any bit of discomfort, people fall apart and they're a mess, right? What we're doing together is enforcing your mind just as much as your body, teaching you how to navigate through stress, keeping a cool, calm, collected mind, and sticking to the plan even when things don't go to plan, and how to have vision and patience and seeing something through to the end when it is not paying off initially. All right, society nowadays is all about instant gratification, and we want everything now. Developing patience and the ability to work towards something far in your future without that instant payoff is a skill that will massively benefit your whole entire life. But also, it will make you stand out from the crowd, just in the workplace, anywhere, because you are able to work hard with patience without having the need to be constantly rewarded initially. So, self-doubt. We all get self-doubt, you know, me included, especially as a competitor. I'm always tearing myself apart, but I know how to, you know, when to shut off the noise, essentially. We're all our own worst critics. It's very natural. You know, comparison is actually human nature. Back in the day, before social media, you know, hundreds of years ago, say, it was a common part of like social life, human social life. It's normal to compare yourself, especially to your past self. You know, that's a good thing to be doing. Others, you know, in your age group and social situation, or even now online. You know, it isn't always bad. It helps support growth because we want to be improving. You know, whether you want to admit it or not, to be, you know, respected by your peers and to seem like you're doing well, right? So obviously a lot of it we want to do for ourselves, but sometimes it is fueled by that. And, you know, also when you take stock of what's around you, you know, you can look to improve yourself. But the main issue now that we deal with is social media, right? We're not programmed to have this much information, taking it in, constantly looking at things like that. Is a very new thing, right? Imagine the thousands of years like we've been on this planet, right? It's only sort of like the last 5-10 years that we've been, you know, pumped with this information like TikTok and fast content, and, you know, obviously Instagram as well, seeing what other people are doing. Can you imagine, right? Like even 20 years ago, right? Pre any social media, even 15 years ago, you would only compare yourself to people that you know in person, which, you know, let's face it, right? When you're going about your life and you're at work and you're chatting to people, they might say, oh yeah, just, you know, someone's just been on holiday. Oh, how's your holiday? Yeah, just been to Dubai. So nice. Yeah, beach clubs or this or that. Oh, nice. That sounds good. Yeah, have a chat about it. And then, you know, 5 minutes later, you've forgotten about it. You're on with your life. You're just focusing what's in front of you, thinking about whatever you're doing. You don't get to see it, right, with your very own eyes. Nowadays, we're looking at Instagram. We're just seeing through the eyes of everyone. They're in a fucking beach club. They're in sick shape. Got all this, you know, nice cars, all this shit, right? Half the time, this is all bollocks, because I know a lot of influencers and they chat out their arse. They rent shit. They're all broke. They're all miserable, right? I know a lot of people with a lot of followers, and half the time it's bollocks. You know, especially when I speak to people with like a lot of followers, they're all very insecure. They don't, you know, they have a lot of issues, right? So don't idolize these people thinking they're perfect. A lot of the time I actually pity them, which sounds bad, but my point being, that sounds very bad to be fair. My point being is, don't look to these people thinking they're so lucky. I mean, some of them are lucky and some of them have great lives, but a lot of them are not what they put out on Instagram. They might be photoshopping their pictures. They might have had surgery. A lot of them are just getting surgery left, right and centre. They're editing the photos. They're, you know, setting the stage for a perfect life. They make you think that they are very rich, and a lot of the time they're just in debt to pay for this lifestyle. Anyways, that's a bit of a rant that's kind of irrelevant, but it's a good point nonetheless. We have to remember that we are all unique and different. We all have our own talents that they don't have. And like I said, what you see on social media is absolutely irrelevant to your journey. You're not them, you are you. And we're looking to them, right, thinking, oh, God, I know this is very hard to think about sometimes when we're going through hardships, right? But we're looking to them, thinking a certain way. God, they're so lucky. That lifestyle's amazing. Someone out there would die for the life that you have, no matter how fucking hard that your life is. There is some sad person with horrendous struggles, probably on the streets or whatever, or obviously the extreme would be a third world country, but it's hard to compare ourselves to that because it's so removed, but it's true. But someone's got even a shit life in this country that is going through absolute hell, or is laying in a hospital bed, paralyzed, can't train, and wishing they had the opportunity to go to the gym like you do, right? It's very important that we remember that. Now, that aside, everyone has their own different past, struggles, priorities, work schedules, and genetics. This comes down to me as well. I'm 31. I only started competing 2 years ago, and I really only started proper bodybuilding. I obviously have trained for a decade or more, but I only started taking this shit very seriously like 3-4 years ago. Really, really applying myself to the level I am now. And I look at lads who are say 21, 22, who have been doing it since they were 16. I'm like, they're in the same position as me or further than me, and they're only 21, 22. God, like, I'm so behind. It's not the case, because I've done loads of shit before they've done that. I've lived a ton of life. I'm here now doing it, and that's all that matters, because where I am right now, comparing myself to 5 years ago, that's what matters. Look at me 5 years ago. I wasn't even coaching, yeah. I had no muscle. Well, I had some muscle, but not. The main thing is, though, that aside, job aside, muscle aside, I didn't like the way my life was. I had no purpose. I was unfulfilled. I was insecure, and I was very emotionally immature. Those are the most important things. Materials and fucking looks aside. Whereas now, I have a purpose, I'm driven, and I am fulfilled on a daily basis by working towards something. That's the most important thing 5 years back. All right? So, for me, that's all that matters. As long as you're better than you were last year, whether that be physical or mental growth, because some people, we have setbacks, we have injuries, we might not always be progressive, but as long as you have learned things and you are better mentally and stronger and have more experience, that's all you can focus on at the end of the day. So remember, guys, what makes it all worth it is those mental benefits and fulfillment and purpose. Getting out of bed in the morning with things to do, right? Daily purpose and having something to actually work towards. Because most people, right, and I'm sure a lot of you have had this in their past, you're in this rut where you're waking up, you feel like shit, you don't look forward to going to work, in fact you dread going to work. Get to work, do your 8 hours, come home, binge watch Netflix, eat dinner, bed, repeat every day. Get to the weekend, what do? You're so bored, you go out on the piss because it's like, I need some excitement. You drink heavy, spend a fortune, spend all day feeling like utter shit. Monday, repeat. That all year. You're doing nothing productive. And all you're doing is turning a cog. With this, what we're doing is, no matter how fast or slow you're progressing, you are working towards something purely for yourself, outside of working for money, and potentially, if you don't have your own business, working for someone else. You are doing something purely for you, which is so important. And then other benefits, obviously being physically and mentally strong. You know, we all know how important that is. Building discipline that will benefit your whole life. Not hating what you see in the mirror is massive. Confident and secure. That is absolutely invaluable. Setting a good example for those around you. If you've got family, kids, friends, being that person that people look to for inspiration. Oh my God, they're so disciplined. I'd love to be like that. That's what you want, right? And forward motion. Keeping the brain busy and occupied. This is so important. Most problems people have nowadays with anxiety and depression, and I have had this, is when you got fuck all to do. Sitting around bored, overthinking, dwelling on shit. If you are busy, you cannot have enough time. You do not have enough time to be sitting around thinking how anxious you are and depressed you are a lot of the time. Obviously, there is exceptions with legit clinical depression and anxiety, but the most time that you'll ever feel anxious and depressed is when you're just sitting around doing nothing. You're not working towards anything. If you have a goal and you're working towards something, you're keeping this brain occupied. That quote that I put on my Instagram today, an idle mind is a devil's playground, and that's true. If your brain is idle, doing nothing, this is where the devil plays tricks. Yeah, it is. That is the case. And then lastly, self-development. Once you start down the self-development journey, wanting to better your physique, better your mindset, you want to improve everything. Improve your work life, improve your productivity outside of work, in the gym, outside the gym, improve your sleep, all these things. You just want to be better in all avenues, right? So, hopefully that helps, guys. If you enjoyed, let me know, and hope you have a good week.